Welcome, everybody, to the Old Gold Show. With you, as always, I'm Andrew Ledman, co-manager over at hammerandrails.com.
And I'm Casey. What happened this week in Lebanon? Why is everyone so mad? Bartley, Boiler Upload, Rivals Network.
Really sums it up right there. Why is everybody unhappy? If you have been anywhere on the Purdue side of the internet, whether that be Twitter, which I will not call X, Facebook, Boiler Upload, Hammer and Rails,
You also won't call those things X either.
Yeah, that's true. You know that people are all up in their feelings about the results of really the last two games for Purdue. Purdue takes down Minnesota after a pretty shaky first half and then goes on the road and loses to Ohio State in Columbus. That's got to be said. But people are mad.
You lose one game and people just lose their mind.
Yeah. Purdue sits at 23-3 on the season. AP poll came out yesterday. They're now number 3 in the nation, dropped just one spot after those two games. And suddenly it's the end of the world, and Purdue is obviously destined to lose to a 16 seed yet again, leading to embarrassment in March, as we all knew it would, so on and so forth and so forth. So
good news, guys. Ohio State,
okay.
Not going to make it as a 16 seed.
Yeah, that's
not going to be in the tournament.
Their only hope is to win the Big Ten tournament, and even then, they wouldn't probably get put into a 16 seed. You know, those are generally the schools that we never heard of that get put in those spots. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about just kind of what happened in those two games, and then take a break and talk kind of bigger picture. Look maybe at granular issues of players, but overall kind of where Purdue is right now, and if these are problems, or just aberrations.
And honestly, we're probably going to talk a lot because for 9 straight games, it's been kind of boring.
It's been all rosy and sunshine.
Win. As a writer, it does get a little tedious to just keep chucking along. Everything's good. We're just filling time right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, from a writer's perspective, there's always something better about a change in the narrative, because it's hard to write, Purdue was dominant and Zach Edey, had 25 and 15 again, and Braden Smith looked great, with many assists and flirted with a triple-double for the 5th time this season or whatever. But
it's only boring because you're like, oh, they beat another bad Big Ten team. Another bad Big Ten team. So no, that's just us being silly, Ledman.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to be writing a story right now about how Purdue is on the verge of greatness because they haven't lost a game all season. I mean, that's a narrative in itself that we passed as we lost, early in the season to Northwestern and then Nebraska and now Ohio State. So Purdue 3 losses in the Big Ten. The last 2 games have not looked great. They kind of stumbled at the end of that first half against Minnesota, and then
counter
already. Let's go,
because I know where this is at. Because obviously we both know there's 7 because we've been yelled at on Twitter all weekend.
Yes, we have.
This looks like the exact same team
I saw last year,
Casey. These are the same problems. Painter hasn't fixed anything.
They stumbled down the road at the end of the year last year, and we're seeing it again, and everything's terrible.
So here's why I don't count Minnesota in that category.
Okay.
Because it is true. Purdue had struggled consistently through February. They never had a half like that second half of Minnesota. Because the second half of the Minnesota game was dominant Purdue again. Yeah. Obviously, Minnesota hung around a little towards the end. But I think about 3 minutes into that half, you're like, oh, there's no way Purdue's losing this game.
Yeah.
They played really well on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, and they went in at halftime down 8. They ended up winning by 8, but it was basically 10 because Minnesota scored at the buzzer. Right. So, I mean, that's an 18-point swing from one half to another. That is how you beat teams right there. That is a dominant second half, and I agree with you there.
Yeah, and the problem with last season, once they kind of lost it in February, they never really put a really good team out on the floor for definitely not a full game. It struggled, or they were pretty good in the Big Ten tournament for a half here or there, but they really struggled to show that they were a dominant team towards the end of the season. Like there were issues and that offense was failing and the defense wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
That second half against Minnesota was a dominant team. That was the number one, number two team in the country,
Hmm.
showing itself for a full 20 after getting hit in the mouth.
Yeah.
Ohio State.
Yeah, I like it. Just the da, 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 da. That explains most of it. So, I mean, this Ohio State game, second game in a row, Purdue goes into halftime down. Second game in a row also where Zach Edey gets 2 fouls in the first half, has to
Mhm.
sit more than he normally would in that first half. Obviously, I mean, I'm going to ask the dumb question that I know your answer to.
Mm, mm, mm.
That's got to be related, right?
Yeah, so that touches on one of the other popular narratives, which is Purdue's just a one-man team again, just one man, just one guy. I mean, they only have the
Yeah.
one. This team is fundamentally not last year's season because it is. The good thing is it's not a one-man team anymore. The bad thing is sometimes it is just a two-man team, which is still less than ideal when you're playing five.
Yeah, but two is better than
But
one.
it's twice as good as one.
Yeah.
I don't think you could say Braden Smith is not head and shoulders above what he was last season,
Yeah,
game
he's
in,
been
game out.
incredible.
And like the issue with Edie going out was that Braden Smith had to do a whole lot just to make like a few buckets for his squad.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for him, and Ohio State made it really hard for him. That's definitely a point I want to touch later because I think Purdue is kind of doing it to themselves a little bit, not playing with urgency, not getting into sets quick enough. I think they make it really hard by wanting Smith and Edie to bail them out in the last 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And it becomes a lot easier to defend everything that Purdue does when they know they can't run through a full action. We can send a double at Edie. We can run at Smith. We know he has to do something in the paint right away because the shot clock's going down. That makes their offense harder. That makes Smith and Edie's job harder. And their jobs are hard enough. They do
Right.
really difficult things constantly on the court. And it's really impressive. But this is a two-man team. And
At times.
yeah. And at times, they usually have a lot of help. They had almost no help. So it's not the same team. What was your original question?
It's no coincidence. It
Mhm.
was more of a softball that you've passed by. It's no coincidence that in these last two games, Purdue went into halftime down 8 against
Mhm.
Minnesota, down 5 against Ohio State.
Right.
And it's also two games where Zach Edey got 2 fouls and had
Yeah.
to sit.
Yeah. The foul trouble is, I don't super care about the first half fouls. One of them, Edie, I understand both Painter's frustration because they pretty much called like a charge because this guy sat away from the ball and got knocked to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. The other call was a little iffy. But it's certainly troublesome that Drew has yet to find a great answer with Edie off the floor.
Right.
They're lucky enough to have a 7-foot big who, when he's not in foul trouble, can play 36 minutes a night.
Right.
So
Yeah, so
like
they've never had to confront that problem because he's not getting winded after 12 minutes.
Yeah, because most teams, like, it's not even a conversation. Like, yes, you have to play 15 minutes without your big because they get tired. They're big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not a thing for Purdue. Trey mentioned it after the game. It's hard to get a rhythm. They haven't spent much time. Like, you just can't play without him on the court, so you don't get that kind of time to work on it and stuff, which I don't buy. I think that's true, but like, it's February.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the experience now, and if you don't think you're prepared to play without him now, you're not going to be prepared all season.
No,
So,
yeah,
like,
an extra 2 to 3 weeks is not going to change things.
So like that's on the other guys.
Yeah.
That's 100% on the players, on the coach if they don't have stuff ready. But like, that's just you got to go play. I mean, you guys have spent most of your career playing without a 7'4" guy in the middle.
Right.
I don't want to hear it. So I thought that rang a little hollow. And Trey played well. Like, he was one of the few bright spots. 12 points, helped start off the 8-0 run for Purdue. But it's messy when you're not. I don't know. We're gonna get into specific player stuff later, but it's just there was nothing around that. Like, Lance Jones missed layups.
3 layups, I think.
Yeah, 3, 2-on-1 play.
Yeah, not great.
And once again, the bench just 4 points. That's it.
Yeah,
nothing. Miles Colvin plays 4 minutes, gets no shots, does nothing. Just, I don't know. it's not great juju around the two guys right now.
The two
And
guys.
Edie and Smith.
Oh, okay. I thought I
Everyone
was.
around, no. Everyone around them, it's not good juju.
Yeah.
And even Trey's stuff doesn't feel like within the system when he's doing well. It's not. It's isolation post ups that get buckets, but it doesn't like involve anyone else. And I think
Right.
Purdue's offense right now really needs to involve everyone. And I think it's a lot. The other guys just not playing with urgency. You got to get into your sets quicker. You got to get open on screens quicker. You got to threaten the defense before 4 seconds in the shot clock. And they just did not do that against Ohio State at all.
Yeah. But before we move too far on, I do want to mention at least one thing that happened in the Minnesota game that has, again, for whatever reason, been something that fans just have loved to argue about. Ethan Morton came in that Minnesota game and played fantastic defense. Just absolutely turned the game around in the second half. Guarded Cam Christie, I believe, for a large portion of it. Slowed him down from what he did in the first half. I mean, almost entirely. And yet we've still got people who are like, get Morton out of there. He's not doing anything. He's not. And I grant you, I have complained about Morton as well, because on offense, he's not doing basically anything at times. And it does allow the other team to play a 5-on-4. But he is doing so much on the defensive end. He is slowing them down. He's causing turnovers. He's causing bad passes. He's causing them to be uncomfortable. And I don't know what it is about fans not realizing what he brings to this team, but it drives me crazy.
So it's kind of, you can survive Ethan Morton on offense for 19 minutes a night, but only one Ethan Morton. Problem is, against Ohio State, especially a little bit in that.
We had about 3.
Yeah, there's 3 Ethan Mortons on the floor. And the problem is the other 2 Ethan Mortons on the floor don't do what Ethan Morton does on defense.
Fair.
So, dry throat here in the morning. It's Ethan Morton's. It's easy to say it's an Ethan Morton problem because that's what he is consistently. But that's what he is consistently. He's brought on the floor because he brings other things. When the other guys aren't doing anything on offense, aren't creating space, aren't making shots, aren't taking shots, all of a sudden they're offering zilch.
Yeah.
Because they're not giving that on the defensive end. They're not 6'7" guarding whoever you need to. So like, it's easy to blame Morton because you just look at it and you're like, oh, well, I know what Morton does. It's who's going to argue he's got 0 points in 19 minutes. Like, that's not his role.
No.
Obviously, I mean, Painter mentioned it after the game when I asked if his bench needed to score more. And he's like, I just need more production from them in general. And that goes to Ethan Morton. Like, he needs to be better on the offensive end. He needs to figure something out to make it work. And that's fine. Like, he was great at getting to the free throw line in high school. Get to the cup now. Be aggressive. But he does bring stuff on the other end. And right now, like, Purdue definitely needs that because their perimeter defense has been shoddy. I think one thing we've seen is if you're going to beat Purdue, you have to be really good in the mid-range. And Bruce Thornton was awesome in the mid-range.
Yeah, he was incredible.
And rewatching highlights from the game last night, because you can't find a full game on CBS, because God forbid. I don't know where they exist.
Big Ten
Are they on the Big Ten Network? God.
Yes. Yeah, you want to know why? Because every time I turned on my TV, for some reason it was on Big Ten Network, and I saw the Ohio State game like 3 more times throughout the day, and I was like, this is just great.
That's fantastic. Good info. That's good info. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a while.
Yeah. So I think one problem that we run into when we talk Ethan Morton is the same with a lot of basketball talk. People just either they don't watch the game or they don't watch it critically. And then afterward, they'll just go to the box score and they'll be like, he was out there 19 minutes and he got 1 rebound or he's got 2 assists and didn't score. Like, what is he doing? Like, he's just wasting it out there. And I think, and I'm going to call out a national figure here.
Ooh, who are we going to fight? Who are we going to fight, Lib?
The reason for this is none other than lovable Ohio State goofball, Mark Titus.
I'm done with Titus. Like, as soon as he went Barstool,
yes, I agree. He's taken a turn. But when he was the lovable loser goofball on the end of the bench at Ohio State,
Club Trillion,
he popularized exactly the trillion, where you play 1 minute, 0 stats across the board. So then that became a thing, and everyone's looking at it like, oh, well, that means you did nothing. But you can't encapsulate everything in a box score. And what Ethan Morton does doesn't always show up in a box score. But
Also,
that
half those
doesn't mean
times
he
they're
doesn't have
not
an impact.
trillions because he has a steal or a block or
Right.
rebounds. Like,
Well, the problem is when you go on the ESPN app, you got to click the extra button to show all the stats. It only shows you, like 3 or 4. So you look at it and you're like, wow, he's got nothing.
right.
But then you expand and he's got something. So that I think is one of the problems that we face with Ethan Morton. But that's enough time on that. Do you want to go ahead and take our break now? And then we'll talk about kind of problems Purdue has, not only in this Ohio State and Minnesota games, but things we've seen throughout the season that might be problematic.
Yeah, I want to touch on. I don't understand why, as a narrative, we are willing to make heroes and villains out of players on what they do in the last 50 seconds. But then, when in the final 50 seconds in a one possession game, refs cannot call an obvious foul and then make up a foul at the other end in the last 50 seconds. And we have to pretend like those minutes don't matter more.
Don't matter. Yeah. They're like, why didn't,
what are we doing here?
You shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with to rely on the ref.
Like, how does that work? Edie gets obviously hacked by Key with a full hand up here, down here, across his body, through his arm. Ant Wright had a good breakdown on Twitter of the fouls, and that one definitely was one. And then at the other end, I didn't get to see a replay in person, but it sure didn't look like Morton got much of Jameson battle.
He did not. Yeah, I watched the replay. I texted you right when that happened. Yeah. I was like, that is a BS call that is going to cost us this game.
So like, and because the narrative is always around Edie and free throws, we don't get to mention that. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right. Like,
yeah, those two plays didn't make a difference in the game.
You see that on Twitter all the time. Anytime I call out something that was clearly like a bad call, in my opinion, or something like that, they're like, you don't get to complain. Edie gets 4 more calls before lunchtime. And you're like, that I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about this instance right here. Like I don't know if I'm, forgetting some rule or something, but when there was a shot clock issue, they said the shot clock started at 20 instead of 30, and it was at 9. So then they paused, took a break, went to the monitor, figured out that there was a 10-second issue, and then they added 13 seconds onto the shot clock to make it 22. And I asked on Twitter, I said, if it started 10 seconds lower than it should have, why did they add 13 seconds? And somebody said, you're not allowed to criticize the refs as a Purdue fan. And I was like, I'm not. Yeah, I'm asking a question, man. I'm asking a question. I don't understand what they did.
It's just like, how many videos did we have to watch of people talking about, oh my God, Purdue shot 40 more free throws than Northwestern. Oh my God. And we're just going to not, when it goes the other way. The timeout call on sliding on a big moment when Purdue had forced a turnover and was really gaining momentum. It looked like they were going to start to run away with it a little bit, or at least take the lead.
Yeah.
And he's sliding out of bounds, doesn't have the ball, gets a timeout, grabs the ball while out of
no clear possession.
Wild calls, like
no clear possession. And if he did have possession, he sure was sliding, which is supposed to be a travel.
And they called that Trey Kaufman going to the ground travel.
They did,
which I don't think we've seen this year at all.
So lot to be frustrated about, but overall, to go back, hey, Purdue shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with. But it is weird.
When you're in a situation you're not supposed to be in, it's okay for other people to do illegal things to you. I think that's how the law works.
Oh God, now we're in dangerous territory. Let's stop there. Take a break, come back and look at some troubling trends.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 as we all get ready for the best month of the year, March Madness. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use the bonus code FIELD150 and you will get $150 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's the best part. All you need to do is deposit and bet $5 of your hard-earned money. This is how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD150. That's FIELD150. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD150 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available in one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in Philly or New York, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create a new account in each state. It's easy, it's simple, and it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the conference tournaments and for the NCAA tournament. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boost, and my personal favorite, a nice little parlay boost here and there. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Big news, guys. I am thrilled to announce that we have partnered with Autograph, a company founded by the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. The Autograph fandom app gives you access to the best college hoops content, fan contests, and exclusive rewards like discounted tickets, all for doing the things that diehard fans like you already do, following your favorite team in the news and listening to podcasts just like this one. When Tom, and yes, I am calling him Tom, we're on a first name basis these days, co-founded Autograph, he had one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. It works like this. You get all of your college hoops content you want in one place. You get articles from your favorite writers, pods from your favorite hosts, contests from your favorite creators, all on the feeds and the sites that you already enjoy. But instead of having to go to all these different places, it all comes to you in one spot, the Autograph fandom app. But here's the best part. The more content that you consume, the higher you rank in the app. As you consider to level up in status on the app, you can unlock unique rewards curated exclusively for you. So download the free Autograph app in the App Store and use the referral code F68, that's F68, or tap in at the link in the description below or in the podcast app of your choosing to start earning points for doing something as normal as listening to this very podcast.
And we are back. So I'm going to kind of look at some trends that we've noticed throughout these last few games. And Casey, I wanted to start with you because this kind of was your idea, because you said you had some written down. So I want to kind of push that to you and see what we can discuss here.
Well, I think it's important to know what are trends and what aren't. And I think any reasonable Purdue fan, like, the number one issue with that game to me personally is Mason Gillis was awful.
He was,
and I don't say that lightly. I say it like shocked, because Mason Gillis is never awful. He never misfires on all three levels of the game, and he was just bad. Looking here, he took 2 shots, 1 3, had 2 rebounds, a turnover, 2 fouls in just 16 minutes of action. I mean, that was a game, especially in the second half when the offense wasn't working. Like, that was a game just this is Mason Gillis time.
Yeah, tailor made for him.
That was a game that Mason Gillis should play 30 minutes in, and you couldn't because he played like crap. He just stunk. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he wasn't feeling well. Like, that seemed uncharacteristically Mason Gillis. Got a little net point thing that they do, and it's pretty much just a basic conversion of how many points they give up to score in those 16 minutes. Gillis is a -4.
Not great.
No.
That's different. That's different though than plus minus, because you're saying
it's pretty similar.
Okay.
It's pretty. It's just how many did your guy score on you?
Right. Okay.
So
it's very specific. It's more specific, I guess.
Yeah, and then just his vibe out. Like, generally, Purdue's offense gets unmucked by Mason Gillis.
Yeah.
His intent on moving off ball, finding open spots, just like, he got the ball, his 1-3, he looked surprised to have the ball and like blanked it hard off the right of the rim. It was a very, very, very bad Mason Gillis game.
Yeah.
It was this is the trend. And this is also one of the Twitter things we're yelling at.
I have a feeling I know where you're going.
Yeah. Fletcher Lawyer.
Yeah.
Not great.
Nope.
So it's always tough with him because you look at the box score and he was 1 of 7 in the first half. It's a problem. It's not good.
Yeah. Well, and
Therefore,
when you couple that with Lance Jones also going 1 for 7 in the first half, 2 for 14 at your 2 and your 3, not great.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to Jones, but
Okay.
But Lawyer, the 1 for 7, and then doesn't get a shot up in the second half. I think the possession that really sticks out is the turnover entry pass with about 11 seconds on the shot clock. When it looked like Lawyer had a shot and or a swing pass to the corner. Instead, he didn't see Key sliding in front of Edie.
It was a bad pass.
Basket. Problem. Right in the middle of a Purdue run where they're, again, trying to make it back. At the same time, he's the only guy driving to the hoop besides Braden Smith.
I agree. He was the only one making moves, but those were bad shots for a large majority.
I mean in the second half because he didn't get a shot up. He got free throws in the second half. He got 4 free throws in the second half, and those are all
made them all.
Yeah, driving to the hoop, getting fouled. So like it's good that he continues that aggressiveness, but in the first half, he settled. He settled for mid range. Painter said it after the game. We just got real locked into this intermediary looks, and it was him kind of rushing, kind of not knowing what to do with that space because he's pretty limited when he has the ball in his hand going towards the hoop.
Yeah,
that's an issue. And that is an issue that highlights when Lance Jones next to him is playing that way as well. And the one thing, produced 3 of 9 from 3. You know who made all 3 of them?
I actually don't. Was it Lance Jones?
Lance Jones.
Yeah.
Hit the first 3 of the game and then hit 2 threes in the second half, I believe.
Yeah, he hit 1 to tie it, I believe, in the second half.
He hit, the game tire, like a big time shot, not easy, off a screen. He settled down in the second half. He didn't take
much better in the second half.
Yeah. The first half doesn't look as bad if you get those 2 layups back, which were just point blank layups.
Yeah.
3 of them counted as misses. Now you're talking about a game where if you get 2 of those makes, take away 3 of the misses, he's 2 of 3 from the field and then 3 of 5 from 3. And all of a sudden you're talking yourself into a really good Lance Jones game. Mm-hmm. I don't think he was that far off. And I think, again, when Purdue has been in close games, you know who's usually making a 3-pointer?
Lance Jones.
So I'm not super worried about that.
But it sounds like you are more worried about Fletcher Lawyer.
Yeah. Because he's a limited player and just physically what he can do at times. And if he's not going 100%, he's not quick enough to make stuff happen. If he's making bad decisions. So especially towards the end of the half, one of those drives where he just threw it up, it's an easy drive, right? Where the help comes from the corner and you have a short outlet pass right to the corner for a 3. Just make the pass.
Yeah.
But he definitely feels like a bellwether for the offense because Purdue can't go with 9 3-pointer attempts in a game.
No.
It's wild.
No. I mean, even this Purdue team who relies so much on getting the ball to Zach Edey, and he's going to get his 10 shots, 15 shots, sometimes even more throughout a game. He's going to get those every game, and we know that's going to happen. But in modern college basketball, you got to be shooting threes. And Purdue has the guys to shoot threes. I mean, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Lance Jones, Mason Gillis. Those 4 guys, I mean, I trust every one of those 4 guys to take a 3. I trust those guys to take a 3 when it matters. I trust them to take a 3 in crunch time. And yet they just didn't. And it goes to a point that I think happened last year in the NCAA tournament. People just didn't shoot. People looked like they didn't want to take the shot. They looked scared to shoot. And we saw that in this Ohio State game. To your point about Fletcher Lawyer, he had a shot he could have taken and instead went to that entry pass or did, I don't know.
So that's the mental side of it.
Right.
The actual problem on the court is when you're running those screens and you're not looking to shoot, you're not going as hard. You're not getting as open. You're not being aggressive. So you're not creating other space for other players.
Yeah.
And that's why that offense was mucked down in the second half.
Yeah.
No one was running around the screen trying to get the ball.
If you're not getting the ball, you still got to bust your ass around that screen because even if you're a decoy, you got to be a decoy. Somebody's got to come with you on the defense. You can't just pretend and go half-assed.
Yeah, and if for nothing else, then why don't you get some action away from Braden Smith so he doesn't have to do everything he has to do for 20 seconds every possession?
Yeah.
He's the only guy capable of creating out of the pick and roll right now reliably. Lance Jones just isn't quite there. That's not his best role. He's a better secondary attacker. And that's created issues when the offense hasn't worked this season. Hasn't happened a whole bunch, but it happened against Minnesota in the first half. It happened this entire 40 minutes almost, where Purdue just doesn't get into their stuff early enough. And then all of a sudden it's like a last ditch effort to throw it into Edey with 8 seconds left on the clock. And then the double triple's coming. And like, what's he going to do? Try to get the ball out so they can pass it in again so he gets it back with 1 second?
Right. At that point, you're relying on Zach Edey to make a play every time, or you're relying on them to collapse and him to find someone who then has to shoot immediately.
Right.
Because the shot clock is winding down. So let me ask you this. It has happened these last 2 games. Why? What is the difference that we're seeing in this Purdue offense that causes them to get into their sets later, causes them to slow things down, and then have to rush at the end? Is it something that defenses have seen, or are they just tired? I don't know.
I don't think it's tired. Maybe it's a little physical fatigue, but yeah, I don't think they're playing urgently enough, getting into their stuff. I went back and looked at the Illinois game when that offense was just humming.
Just incredible. That was the best the offense has looked all year.
Those actions are getting into like the shots are coming up with like 18 seconds on the shot clock. That they're attacking from the start. They're not, here, Braden, catch your breath so you can try to attack with 14 seconds left on the clock. They were getting into their stuff right away. Everyone was looking to be aggressive. Everyone was attacking space. And just right now, Purdue looks like a bunch of players that are afraid of space. Because Fletcher Loyer got caught in space in no man's land in the middle and settled for jumpers and little half floaters.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. And it's never going to work. Like, you can't get in there and then stay on 2 feet and make good things happen. Let the ball move. Let the offense actually rotate around a broken defense. And Purdue wasn't doing that. They were settling for middling shots midway through the shot clock. And in the second half, the adjustment seemed to be, we'll keep the ball in Smith's hands. We'll hold it in slow and then find Edey in the post with like 10 seconds left. And that's way harder for Edey to operate out of when he knows he has to go and everyone on the defense knows he has to go. That's tougher. Those 5-6 seconds is the difference between the offense stopping when the ball gets inside and the offense continuing to work around him. Because, of course, you're not going to move a whole bunch when you know Edey has to shoot because you're going to muck things up and make doubling and triple easier. So you have to just kind of sit there. And that's why it looks like, oh, the offense is broken because it's just stalled.
Yeah. And there's a reason that kind of the joke around Matt Painter for years was the only thing he would yell on the sidelines was move, motion, motion. It's because that's how the offense works. You got to be moving. You got to, have some motion out there. It's a motion type offense. You got to be moving. If you're standing there, there's got to be a reason for it. You can't just be standing around and waiting for something to happen. You have to go. You have to hit your spots. You have to make something happen. There's got to be constant movement because that's how you get the defense out of sorts. That's how you find your openings. That's how you find your opportunities. And as you said, when you just kind of wait at the top for 12 seconds, 14 seconds to get things going, then you're just concerned and you're trying to make a quick decision because the time is running out.
Yeah, it's easy to double when your guy's not going to relocate if you know where to get back to. And I think there is some predictability in that because where Edey's going to get the ball. And if they're just launched up there, they're going to be able to handle that. So Miles Colvin
is a player on this team. Yes.
He played 4 minutes in the first half, played 6 minutes against Minnesota. Do you know how many stats he accumulated in those combined 10 minutes?
I think no points.
No points.
I don't imagine he got a rebound because he's not generally in position to get a rebound. Probably no assists.
No assists.
I'm going to guess nothing in general.
Nothing.
Yeah.
A big old double trillion.
But he is the favorite of everyone on Twitter.
Who get it?
Who believes that he should get more minutes and that Painter is screwing him and et cetera, et cetera. And before we get into it, I want to be clear. I'm not shit talking Miles Colvin. I'm shit talking the people who think he's a savior and that Painter is clearly inhibiting his growth by keeping him on the bench. His defense isn't that great. That's one of the issues.
Talk about his net was minus 1.8. One of the things that I kept hearing, because I was in Columbus most of yesterday, so I didn't get to watch things till late. One of the things I kept hearing is Miles Colvin is out there. He's wide open. Why doesn't Smith and Lawyer give him the ball? So I was like, okay, I don't super remember that, but I'll rewatch. People have to stop.
Just in general.
Yes, yes, players are open immediately after someone shoots. It's how defenses work. So it's like I rewatch and Cohen's you could argue like he's probably open enough to shoot like a half step, but like what happens is the defense just rotates slightly, so there's a little bit of room. And then the offensive guy goes up in a shot, and then the guy moves away because it's what you do on defense.
Right, yeah.
And then he looks very open. So if you look in that one split second, yes, he's very open. I do think there is something to, if you're going to play Miles Colvin, there's one reason to do it. And it's because he's capable of scoring.
Yeah.
Was there anything ran or to open things up for Miles Colvin in those
that's a question.
4 minutes without Zach Edey? No, there was not. Is that something Purdue should probably be doing or have done more this season? Certainly, if this is a trend that's going to continue and the offense is going to look like that, absolutely. Because last year we were begging. We had conversations where like, should Camden and Heidi have played last season?
Right.
You have not redshirted?
If at this point we're relying on Miles Colvin, and if we believed this was going to be possible, he should have been playing more 2 months ago. I mean, you can't drop a guy in February after 5 or 6 did not plays and be like, all right.
Yeah, it's not Brandon Newman again. He doesn't have 3 years of college experience behind him, 4 years at that time. But I do think there's enough time to get him a little comfortable with the ball in the sand, see what can happen. And like, I'm begging for it a little bit. If you're gonna get this from your wing guys, if that exists in them, and now it's existed, I would say in 3 of the last 4 halves.
When you say this, you mean the tentative nature, the inability to hit shots, the
stuck
failures
offense.
on the drive.
Stuck offense. If that, and I do think that comes a lot from the wing. I think that's part of why Trey's so hard to have on the floor all the time. Is because he occupies that middle space too, and that makes it easier to double, and it makes it harder for guards and wings to move around and get to places. So like
the spacing is terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
So like that's an issue. And if these are gonna be issues, it's kind of what Miles Colvin is put on earth for. So
put on earth.
let's just see. It's so hard, right? Because you're in the middle of the game. You are just trying to claw away at a deficit or hold on late. Like that is such a hard time to experiment or try new things or like stuff that's not proven. It's hard to get buy-in from players on that. It's hard, but Miles, you're saying he deserves to play by putting him out there, even if it's just for a 4-minute stretch in the first half. Can you do more to put him out there in places where he's going to do well and do the things that you need him to do? And I think like Purdue said last, she's like, I didn't do a good enough job getting TKR ready at the 4. Well, maybe are you not doing a good enough job getting Miles Colvin ready to just play?
Well, I think it goes back to...
Is that a fair criticism?
I think it goes back to what we talked about in an earlier episode. How do you balance the desire and the need to win right now versus the desire to continue to build your program so that when the players who are, leaving the program after the season are gone, that the players who maybe aren't playing a lot right now are ready to go and ready to step into those roles? Do you have to sacrifice a game or two where you say, look, right now, I need to get this guy ready because next year he's going to be playing 15, 20 minutes a game.
Well, I don't think you can think about next year right now.
But my point is like you have to the TKR point. Would that have meant him playing more last year in that role? And
Yeah,
if you
Painter
do
wishes he
that, what
could
do you
play the 4 last
sacrifice?
season.
Well, right, but what do you sacrifice in those moments? Do you take Mason Gillis off the floor? Do you take Caleb First off the floor? And if you do those things, how does that impact the game? Does Purdue maybe lose a game they won last year because of
Right.
that? But is Trey Kaufman-Renn better this year because of it? You have to find a balance.
Yeah, I don't think you can think about next season. But like, can you be a better team in March? And like, that's
Sure.
kind of what it, and there's no guarantee, right? Like, Cole
Exactly.
might play 15 minutes and just like create a bunch of bad habits. And generally, it's not what we see from Purdue players because
Right.
it's not tolerated. But it is a fine line and it's difficult. And I don't have a great answer, but I do know if Miles Colvin is out there, the point of Miles Colvin is not to stand in the corner
You
and
should
not
be
shoot.
shooting.
Yeah. If you're going to do that,
Yeah.
like I get Kevin Heidi's been a little rough just because he's like a half step off on defense. It looks like he's in the right place, but he's just given a half step too much. And that definitely becomes apparent when Fletcher Lloyd's out there giving 3 steps too much.
I think
I do think the defining
exaggeration.
No. The defining play, like the big 3 that wasn't battles when Thornton got switched onto Edey one-on-one. And Edey has done really well one-on-one against guards. Generally, I think you're okay with a guard trying to take a jump shot over him because he's really tall. It's really hard.
Yes, he is.
Breaking
news: Zach Edey, very tall.
So Thornton takes 1 step towards the middle, and Lawyer comes 3 steps in off the wing and gives up the wide open, easy outlet pass for a 3 in the corner, or in the right wing. And that I have it right down here. Let's see. Yeah, overhelp. It was 62-58. 4 minutes left.
That was before they scored, or that was after the bucket?
I believe before.
Okay.
But regardless, like that was a big game-changing point.
Yeah.
And Lawyer just is in no man's land because he's not helping from that far away. You're not actually doing anything.
Unless you're trying to like spook him, be like, ah.
Yeah. Just like giving up an easy 3. And like, that's the kind of stuff you can't do. Yeah. Not when you're trying to be more disciplined. Like, make them earn it. Don't give them easy ones.
Yeah.
Edey's fine. He's really good one-on-one. Like,
so, fine. I mean, we've talked about the problems that we've seen, the trends that we've seen. Do we think, I mean, you talked about Mason Gillis. That sounds like more of a one-off. You know, this is really the first game he's had that has been not good on the season. So maybe put him
since
aside.
Fairleigh Dickinson.
Oh, thank you for that.
Welcome.
But how do you kind of view the problems at the 2 and the 3 with Lawyer, with Jones? Do you view those as problems that could plague Purdue going forward? Or are these things that Purdue has solutions for, and we just didn't get him in the Ohio State game? Because we saw him in the second half of the Minnesota game.
I think Jones is a solution. And I think if he doesn't start 1 for 7, it kind of looks like that. I know he didn't do a whole bunch to start the second half. That was definitely, and he got benched at the end of the first half, probably rightfully so. His defense wasn't great. Bruce Thornton destroyed Purdue in the mid-range.
He did. Yeah. He did everything he wanted. Common
thread of every time Purdue loses, someone just has to really excel from that mid-range. Like, it's just a silly thing. It's not a sexy talking point, but like, if you're going to beat Purdue, you're going to have someone go like Boo Buie in the mid-range.
Ugh. Boo Buie just gives me nightmares.
Yeah. So it was Boo Buie mid-range, and then Northwestern was more, they got crazy from tough threes. And then
you mean Nebraska. Nebraska got crazy from tough threes, yeah.
And then defended Purdue really well. But this one, like, Bruce Thornton just went crazy in the mid-range. Just wild. But Lance Jones got to the hoop. Didn't do the things you want him to do when he
missed
right there at the hoop. But got there.
It goes back to kind of what Painter always says. You know, we took good shots. We didn't make them. But I'm not going to be mad that we took good shots and they didn't go in. We have to be putting ourselves in positions to get those shots. And so you're right on that. He got the good shots. He just didn't make them. And you hope that the next time he gets that opportunity, he'll make them.
And he made 2 threes in the second half. 1 to cut the game into single digits after Jameson Battle looked like they were going to run Purdue out of the gym.
Yeah.
And then he tied the game at 65-65. He's not afraid of big shots, gets to those open looks. And if anything, like, I wish he were a little better pick and roll lead guard, because I think it's easier to get the offense through him if you're doing it that way.
Sure.
It's just not the way he's best. But like his athleticism is undeniable. Ohio State could not keep him out of the game.
Yeah.
And that one layup did end up in an ED dunk because Lance Jones pulled the entire defense there. Like he missed it, but like he earned those 2 points. I think Purdue didn't have that last year. They didn't have Braden Smith this way last year. So I think that Purdue needs, if Purdue is going to go all the way, they can't have a performance like this.
No.
Do I think what Purdue had today was enough to get out of the first round, which is a dumb thing that we have to have a conversation about, but we do. We literally do. Because they've lost a double digit. It was this good enough to beat most double digit seeds. I think so.
I think this is the fact that you have to caveat it is hurtful to me personally.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think it is. I think Ohio State, like Painter said it all, like the team, he has said it as nice as possible. Like the team has not been good. Those players are really good. And I think when you look at the roster, like it is a talented group. And Zedke was out of his world on defense because a lot of those steals weren't fouls, even though they looked like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really anytime you're down low and you're slashing at the ball, it's gonna look like a foul, but doesn't mean it is. And it's hard to see often on the broadcast because these are big guys and they're right up next to each other and we don't have a good angle. So who knows?
So like he defended really well. They did a lot of good things, a lot of talent. Like I said, Bruce Thornton was awesome. But Lance Jones did give them a couple big shots, a couple easy looks, and like that didn't exist at all last year in the tournament. So I think that's the point where I look to and I'm like, I'm fine with rocking with Braden Smith and Lance Jones in the backcourt.
Well, I'm maybe 2 questions left for you. Let's see. When you're looking toward March Madness, toward the NCAA tournament, we know we're going to have Zach Edey. We know Braden Smith. They're both going to be there.
2-man team.
Right. Who then is Purdue's most important player other than those two? Is it Lance Jones or is it Fletcher Lawyer? Because if Fletcher Lawyer plays how he, played when he scored 27, I think it was against Tennessee in Hawaii. I mean, this team, no one can beat this team, I don't think.
No, it's Mason Gillis.
Oh, okay. All right. Tell me more.
We watched the offense not work because Mason Gillis was terrible.
Okay.
If he's anything, Purdue wins this game. I don't think I've ever seen him play worse in ways that were like mind-boggling. Don't know what he was doing on defense. I don't know what he was doing on offense. I have no idea. It was not Mason Gillis. Are we sure that the Star Monsters or whatever they are didn't
first of all, it's the Monstars, and how dare you insult Space Jam that way?
Sure they weren't hiding at NBA All-Star Weekend and as
it could have been
flow by Indy, like one of them stole my
got onto the plane or did he touch a strange basketball is the question. But I would say one thing about Mason Gillis, I remember one specific game where he was very bad. You and I were in attendance. That would be the St. Peter's game. Made some bad decisions in that game. I cannot remember overall if it was as bad as this one, but everybody's allowed a stinker every now and then, and let's just hope this was his.
But I think he's the difference because generally he's an A+ off the bench and has been like all season.
Yeah. So last question, unrelated to this. Are we still confident that Purdue can and will win the Big Ten?
Yes.
Regular season.
Yes. It's still a trash league.
What about Illinois? I mean, Purdue's got to go to Illinois.
King of the trash.
I'm not sure if Illinois has another game on their schedule that they're not favored in. I mean, their schedule pretty friendly going forward. They play Wisconsin, they play Iowa twice. They play Northwestern, but Northwestern now without was it Ty Berry? Right? He's out for the rest of the season. So lining up pretty well for them. And Purdue still got games against Michigan State. They got a game against Wisconsin and a game against Illinois. Those are 3 difficult games, even though 2 of those are at home.
Illinois has to play who?
Purdue.
Purdue.
Yes. At Illinois.
Okay.
Hard to win on the road.
Okay.
You don't sound convinced.
It's still a trash division. I'm not like.
First of all, it's a conference, not a division. We're not talking Big Ten West.
No. Also, I don't particularly care. Maybe they need to lose it.
Nope. Let's not
Maybe
go
they
there.
need to. Maybe
Let's
they
not
need
go
to.
there.
Evan. Maybe losing makes winning. You ever think about
Bliss.
that?
I don't think so. I've never
You
thought
ever
of
think
that.
maybe
But
losing?
well, they
Makes
just
winners.
lost. So they just lost. So maybe now they've turned it around. But win the Big Ten regular season, no one really cares about the Big Ten tournament as much. Obviously, I'd like to win every game the remainder of the season. But if we're gonna win one, I want to win the regular season, the Big Ten tournament. Give me a couple of days of rest. That's fine. So there we go. Casey, still confident. I'm kind of teetering, but I believe we can do it.
Coward.
Hey, I'm just looking at the schedule. The schedule is pretty good for Illinois going forward. And
Do you think
Purdue
it's bad for
dominated.
Purdue?
Well, I mean, I think just because of the game Purdue at Illinois, because if no one else beats Illinois and Purdue wins every other game, that's going to tie the two in the conference. So
Which would be
then
a conference win.
right, but then it would come down to tiebreakers for seeding and all that. But I want to win it solo, of course. But I'll take.
I don't think Purdue's winning by 4 games anymore.
Yeah, I think that's out the window. I think that's out the window for sure.
3.
Oh, you are way more confident than me, sir. So there you go. Casey's still confident. He says 3 games in the Big Ten. I say we maybe win by 1, maybe 2. We'll see. But until next time, folks,